Hi, my name is Alexis Eversole, and I'm going to talk to you about ADHD. Have you ever had times when you have felt if you couldn't focus and you felt scattered or out of control? A person with ADHD feels this way almost every day. Hi, I'm Alexis Eversole. Today I want to talk to y'all about ADHD. I can speak on this subject with complete confidence because I have severe ADHD and have struggled to stay focused and on track for as long as I can remember. There are several causes for ADHD, and at some times it is hard to diagnose, but early detection and treatment can save a child from years of frustration and self-esteem issues. First, I'd like to address those who don't really know what ADHD is or what can cause this disorder. This disorder actually affects millions of children and can continue into adolescence and adulthood. The severe as symptoms such as difficulty sustaining attention, hyperactivity, and impulsive behavior. Sometimes that bad kid may simply be suffering from ADHD. Gender plays a part in how this disorder presents itself. Males tend to show more hyperactivity, where girls are usually inactive. Children with this disorder fall under 3 categories of ADHD. Inactive, hyperactive, and impulsive are symptoms of both. A child may have trouble paying attention, staying focused, or make careless mistakes in schoolwork and in play. They may also be distracted easily or have trouble with organization or staying on task. These categories as inactive, these are categorized as inattentive. The second category is hyperactive and an impulsive child. These children tend to fidget or move their hands or feet a lot, having trouble to staying in their seat, tend to have issues being quiet or blurting out answers or interrupting a speaker. They also may have trouble with taking turns and intrude on conversation and activities. The third category will have combined symptoms from both category 1 and 2. Though many parents are difficult to convince, ADHD is recognized as a valid medical disorder by leading organizations around the world, including the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the National Institute of Health, and the World Health Organization. Getting a child diagnosed is not a simple process, and the CDC estimates that 30% of children with ADHD have never been diagnosed. I remember going through the visits with the doctors, counselors, and psychiatrists. Being young, it felt as if I talked to so many people. For a child to be diagnosed with ADHD, the child must present 6 or more of the symptoms in 1 or more of 3 categories, and the symptoms must be impairing the learning process. Diagnosis can be confirmed by pediatricians, psychiatrists, clinical psychologists, social workers, and neurologists. And the process can take time and effort on the part of professionals and the child's family. Parents need to realize that all the time and effort is essential to their child's future. I was diagnosed in middle school along with my reading disability, and by that time I had fallen far behind children my own age and in academics because I had such a problem focusing and understanding the material. My case is very common, and the many children with ADHD also suffer from some other form of disability. My point here is the importance of early detection and treatment. Unfortunately, there is no lab, blood, or urine test that can determine whether your child suffers from ADHD, which makes the process of diagnosis a long and complicated process. Parents need to understand that much in the process will not be covered by insurance and will take time and patience to help their child through this process, and it's very worth it. The first step in recognizing recognizing the symptoms and interviews with people involved in the child's daily activities. This involves the child's doctors, teachers, coaches, youth pastors, and anyone else that can give an account of their child's patterns of behavior. The psychiatrist or clinical psychologist will evaluate the information from the interview the child themselves, and deliver the diagnosis. This is where the process gets complicated and frustrating for many families. So much so that they will want to give up and just try to solve the problem with discipline or counseling, which doesn't help, which will do nothing except create angry and frustrated children. After diagnosis, the next step is to determine a treatment plan. From the information gathered, the doctor or doctors will help develop a plan, which usually includes a combination of medication, coping techniques, and education. Parents should not get frustrated if the first medication does not work for their child. It took 2 years before my doctor discovered a medication that helped me. I can assure you, from the child's point of view, those were very hard and confusing years. But I am so blessed that my parents stuck with it and made certain I got the help that I needed. The coping skills helped. But when it's hard to focus, learning anything seems impossible. What seems so easy to your peers feels like a nightmare, and feelings of falling simple take away all self-esteem. Once the right medication was found, my life changed, and the confusion and inability to focus were gone. I still have a reading disability, as you can see, but I can cope with that as long as I can focus. The last step is making certain the child remains on the medication and uses their coping skills as long as they need them. Some seem to outgrow the symptoms after being an adult. But many cases, like mine, are more severe and will require medication while into adulthood. I simply cannot function successfully without my medication. Medications can have side effects, can be expensive without good insurance, but the future of a child depends on consistent treatment. ADHD is hard to diagnose, and the diagnosis is so hard for parents to hear. But the successful development of the child depends on the parents' willingness to hear the diagnosis and then take necessary steps to help their child. The fact that there are 30% of children with this disorder are still out there suffering, feeling they are just not as intelligent as others is really hard for me to hear. I know that feeling, and I'm so happy I had parents there to pay attention and listen to the doctors and got me help I needed. Every child deserves that chance. Thank you.